It's the G to the U to the R to the U. All right, so now I want to move on to talk about the Colts and the Dolphins. Because to me, the Colts and the Dolphins are like in a very, very similar position. A very good organization, very well put together structure-wise. But they're lacking two things, or they're very, let's say, unsure about their quarterback position. For basically the same reasons. The same reasons. Because both of their guys they have injury history. They have injury history. So my analogy when I was checking this scenario out between the Colts and the Dolphins, I'm like, man. I'm like, the Colts and the Dolphins, it's like they have two beat up cars as their quarterback. If you ever had two beat up cars as your it's like driving two beat up cars. We all know when you have two beat up cars, sooner or later it's going to break down. And more than likely it's going to be sooner than later. And when I look at the quarterback situation, I'm like, it's just two beat up cars in Indianapolis and in Miami. And one thing about beat up cars is the individual that have the beat up cars, like you ask the Miami organization, you ask the Colts organization, when you have beat up cars, you ask the owners of a beat up cars, you know what they tell you the reason they have the beat up cars? Hey, it takes me from point A to point B. That's what they tell you. It takes me to point A to point B. Guess what, Miami and Indianapolis? Y'all got a quarterback that takes you to point A to point B. That's it. It ain't gonna take you to D, C, E, D, F, G, H, I, J, K. And from my recollection, you gotta pass B to get to P. P is the playoff. When I look at these two quarterbacks, and I can tell you, the guru right here, unfortunately, but fortunately, I am the king of beat up cars. And when I look at this situation, that's so not ideal to me. Because as the king of beat up cars, there's two things every beat up car should have in their trunk. There's two specific things. And when I look at the Dolphins and the Colts, I don't see those two things. And do you know what those two things are? I'm going to tell you. If you have a beat up car, you need to have yourself a spare tire and a jumper cables. Because the thing about having a beat up car is sooner or later it's going to break down and you're going to need one or the other. You're either going to have a flat tire or you're going to run your battery is going to run out. When I look at the organization with the way the Miami is built and the Colts are built, they don't have themselves a spare tire and they don't have themselves a jumper cables for their organization. And that's why they ended up stranded on the road Sunday. Like I said, we all know when you have a car like that, you have to have contingency plan. You got to have AAA. When you have a broken down car, you just got to be, your trunk is different than the normal cars, man. You got to have contingency plans, man, because you're going to break down and more than likely, it's always going to be at the wrong time. I was looking at the Colts game against the Rams. It was a beautiful game. The defense played well. The team, everything played well. It came down to the last drive. It came down to the last drive, and guess what? When the Colts went in there and gave the keys to the quarterback to start it, guess what? The car broke down. The car broke down. And then you know what I looked? And I saw all the Colts fans. I was thinking about all the Colts and I was like, oh my goodness. Wow. Wow, man. It's your first day at work. First day at work and they got a flat tire and they don't have a spare. Wow, the worst time it could ever happen. But you know the crazy thing is they knew that because they had a shitty car. Indianapolis, Miami, don't be surprised Tua broke his ribs or whatever the situation is. This is a hoopty. Y'all got a hoopty at quarterback. Y'all got a point A to a point B cars, not a point C, D, E, F, G. So with that said, you have to have a spare tire and jumper cables in your trunk. And if you don't have that, your car is going to be left stranded. And the Colts and the Dolphins don't have a legitimate backup quarterback in their roster. Meaning they don't have a backup. They don't have the extra tire, and they don't have jumper cables. And they're going to be left stranded this season because they have two beat up cars as their main point of transportation.